I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfillment. Today, we're focusing on the leadership essential of preparation. The Leadership Essentials series has really captured the interests of our listenership, and it's been fabulous to get your feedback and hear how you're implementing the different takeaways from the episodes. If it's the first time you've listened to the show, then the Leadership Essentials series is my attempt at capturing a series of traits that I believe every high-performing leader should have in their locker. They're based on my own personal experiences as a CEO, but also, and perhaps more importantly, the experiences I get with clients that I now coach and mentor. I get that ringside seat in a variety of sectors to high performance, to see what really works and what doesn't work, and you see themes. And themes lead into traits, and I consistently see traits that are then profiled in the Leadership Essentials series, because I'm a big believer of very few of us are walking an untrodden path. If there are people that are walking that leadership journey ahead of you, why not learn from them? Why not embrace what works for them? By all means, yes, adapt it, create the fit that works for you, but take the time to reflect on the principle and ensure that you have it in your locker, as I said earlier. So that's the philosophy. And preparation, again, it's easy to dismiss, as it is with so many of the Leadership Essentials. Well, that's obvious. That's common sense. And forgive me, you'll have heard this phrase a few times, but it bears repeating. Common sense is not always common practice. Just because we've heard something before or we know of something, does that mean we're implementing it? We all know we need to be healthy. We all know we need to eat fruit and vegetables consistently. We all know we need to exercise and move our bodies. But does that mean we all do it consistently? Not necessarily. So knowing is only part of the problem. We need to focus on the execution and removing some of the barriers. So preparation is something I was exposed to very early in my career. For those of you that haven't heard any of my backstory before, the formative years of my career were spent playing professional rugby union and being exposed to that high performance environment and having the absolute blessing of rubbing shoulders with some truly world-class individuals. Now, preparation is an absolute non-negotiable in elite sport. And that level of preparation you will find in every discipline, male, female, young, old, whatever country you go into. In order to achieve an ability to execute at the highest level in the arena, on the field, on the court, you need to have prepared. And that preparation is multifaceted. That's how you prepare your body, the strength and conditioning work, the flexibility work, how you prepare your skill set, the work that you do to sharpen your particular discipline and skill, in terms of how you prepare and analyze the opposition. Now, athletes will spend hours watching footage of their opposing player, how they play, certain tells, certain things they may do to allow them to have a deeper understanding, to take them out, to dominate them in a particular game. And when I say take them out, that might be taking their wicket in cricket, scoring a goal past them in football, beating them when you're running with the ball in rugby. Whatever the discipline, preparation is key. Now, before you tune out, those of you that might be saying, well, I'm not a sports fan, I'm not a sports enthusiast, that's okay. It's the principle here that preparation is as relevant, in my opinion, in the boardroom as it is in the sporting arena. However, it isn't as consistently applied. Very few elite sportsmen and women, as I say, will ever achieve any sustainable success if they don't prepare properly. So that is why it's a non-negotiable. But many of us, when we move into industry, get consumed by the ever-burgeoning to-do list, email list, schedule, that we start to lose the ability to prepare well. So, as with so many of my episodes, today is about just putting a spotlight back on that, having you walk this particular journey with me, constantly reflecting, am I doing that? Am I prepared? Could I do a bit more? How will this impact me personally, my leadership impact, and also those people that I'm tasked with leading? If I step out of the sporting arena and move into the military sector, I think they are even more focused on preparation. There's a phrase you hear a lot: you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training. And training is absolutely paramount across all levels of the military, but particularly those special forces, those elite operators tasked with some of the most dangerous missions in the world. They are relentless in their focus on preparation. And I remember Andy McNabb, a former SAS Special Forces soldier who's now become a recognized and celebrated author, has a phrase: I'll take out one expletive, but it's simply proper planning and preparation prevents beep poor performance. And I remember reading that as a teenager and thinking, that's so simple to say, but it has a real resonance. If we want to perform, we have to prepare. It's as simple as that. I love to profile leaders, internationally recognized individuals who epitomize these traits. And I'll start with the marathon world record holder, Eliud Kipchoge. Now, I won't be doing that pronunciation any justice, but what an inspiration this man is. The first person to run a 26.2 mile marathon in under 2 hours. So there's lots of articles and media coverage of what he's done. And one of the themes that comes through consistently is preparation. As we said at the top of this episode, his focus on any and every facet of his performance and how he prepares, both physically and mentally and emotionally, all working in harmony to achieve something as truly unbelievable as running a marathon in under 2 hours. Bringing it back into business, Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Meta, formerly Facebook, is renowned and recognized by her colleagues for a trait that she has that they call bulletproof readiness. So she prepares to ensure that whatever situation she's going into, she has the insights, the intelligence, the data to perform at the very highest level. And I love that as a phrase, bulletproof readiness. I think that's a source of inspiration for all of us. Now, do we go into all of our meetings with bulletproof readiness, or are we guilty of winging it because we haven't had a chance to prepare, because of our distractions, because of the chaos in our diary, because we're allowing ourselves to be pulled from pillar to post in situations and scenarios that really we should have the strength to say, I'm not going to attend that, I'm going to say no to that, I'm going to carve some space back out. I think most of us will fall into the latter, at least on occasion, that we struggle to prepare because we simply don't give ourselves enough time. But what a challenge to give ourselves. Can we, more often than not, be in a situation where we feel we have bulletproof readiness? And last but not least, somebody I've featured in a couple of podcasts recently, Admiral William McRaven. Now, he was in charge of the operation that successfully found and captured Osama bin Laden. And one of the things that you read about when you study that is the relentless level of preparation, trying to replicate as many different variables so that the margin for error was reduced to near zero. That preparation brings familiarity, enhances our confidence and our competency and our ability to execute. Now, that's a life and death situation there. Many of us, thankfully, are never in life and death situations, but the principle's the same. The more you can replicate those extreme pressure situations, the exact conditions you're going to face, the easier it is to enhance that confidence and to give yourself the comfort that you are ready. You have that bulletproof readiness to perform at the very highest levels of your ability. As with any of these leadership essentials, it's easy to get lost or overwhelmed in that 30,000 foot conceptual view. Well, yeah, I know I need to be prepared, but what does that mean? How do I just bring that down to my day-to-day reality? Well, let me give you 3 or 4 of the core areas that I always challenge clients to say, focus here, start here, be as prepared as you can be in these areas. Number 1, communication. Prepare your message. I know this seems very patronizing, and forgive me because there is zero patronization in my intent, but wherever you are going to stand, wherever you are going to speak, wherever you are going to present, prepare that message, refine it, make it as succinct and as impactful as you can, because people take their lead from you. And clarity, another one of our leadership essentials, is absolutely essential for individuals, teams, and organizations to function at an optimal level. It starts with you and how you communicate. Rambling, incoherent, lacking focus presentations will create confusion, ambiguity, and just drain people of energy and enthusiasm. And succinct, punchy, inspirational communication does the exact reverse. So do not lose sight of how important it is to think and prepare the delivery of your key messages. The next key area is diary management. This is a real hot topic for me at the minute. I spend time asking clients to do me the service of just opening up the calendar, warts and all. Let's see what's in there. And it is chaotic, to say the least. I am not exaggerating to say that I see frequent examples of people being double booked. And would you believe I've even seen people triple booked, where for some bizarre reason, people have been able to access their calendars and just simply book them in, even though they already have commitments. So there's a whole tangent we could go down here, but in a simplest sense, we have to look at how we are spending our time and ensure that we are in charge of that process, and we decide when and where we deploy our mental and physical bandwidth and prepare our calendars accordingly so that we can get the best out of ourselves, which in turn benefits everybody around us. The leader that is being pulled from proverbial pillar to post, running on fumes because there's never time to stop, reflect, to think, to prepare anything, does themselves a disservice, but also does their team a disservice. Look at your diary. Is it serving you and your wider team? What should you be saying no to? What should be delegated? Where can you create some time in your diary for reflection and preparation? How do you sharpen your communication strategy? How do you truly prepare if there's no time anywhere in your calendar to reflect and prepare? The third area is meetings. Now, we've just talked about how we reflect on our calendar, what we need to trim out, what needs to stay, and the things that need to stay are staying for a reason. They're important. In a sporting context, they're like your match day. That's when you step to the plate, step onto the court, step into the arena and perform. People are watching your performance, people are taking inspiration from your performance, and people are deciding whether they want to follow you, your vision, and your direction of travel. So you owe it to you to make sure that performance is of the highest caliber. So prepare for the meeting. What is success? What is the outcome you want to achieve from that meeting? What are the anticipated challenges? What are the anticipated challengers, the personnel who will challenge you? And what are they going to challenge you with? And how can you deal with that? Prepare and rehearse. Going back to the operation to catch Osama bin Laden, they were rehearsing different scenarios. You go into a sports arena, the coaches will challenge teams, frustrate them, start them from certain areas of the court or the pitch. They will challenge them to imagine that they are 20 points down. They are coming into the final quarter. They're in adverse positions. Why? They're not doing it just to frustrate and irritate people. They're replicating difficult situations so that when those situations actually do arise on a match day, they are ready and competent and able to do it. So do the same for yourself. Where are those challenging situations going to transpire, and how will you deal with them? Now, hopefully they don't. Hopefully you prepare and some of those challenging situations don't actually transpire. But rather than being blindsided by them, rather than losing your momentum, feeling uncomfortable because something's come up that you hoped didn't, well, anticipate that it will come up and prepare your responses accordingly. And the fourth area I challenge all my clients on is recovery. Prepare and focus and reflect on how you recover. I'm full of cheesy analogies. Anyone who's listened to multiple episodes will know that by now, but just think of it like the battery on your mobile phone. When it goes, it goes. It doesn't matter if you shake it, shout at it, tap it repeatedly. There is no functionality in the phone when the battery goes. And so we consistently are thinking, where can I charge it? Is there a charging point? You see people scrambling in offices, in airports. Where can I charge? What about us? What about our physical and mental energy? We need to take time to think about how we move, how we sleep, how we eat. That's the recovery three that I always talk about: our nutrition, our exercise, and our sleep. Because if we don't recover effectively, we will never lead at our truly optimal level. So take some time, going back into that diary management. Where do things need to change to enhance your recovery? And I appreciate this is a brief podcast. I'm skipping through these things, but if you were working with me one-to-one, then we would dive much more deeply into these areas, and we would create a roadmap, a series of steps that will truly allow you to be prepared in all of these areas. So as I say in this episode and numerous episodes, if you feel a need to explore how we might be able to work together, then drop me a line. Drop me a DM on LinkedIn. All the contact details are in the show notes. I'd be all too happy to explore whether this is an area that I can support you to make improvements and enhance your level of professional and personal performance and indeed fulfillment. It's an old cheesy line, but life's not a dress rehearsal. So any way that I can help people, I take a huge amount of fulfillment, because if we labor on and we don't fix some of these issues, it just drains us. It drains our well-being, it drains our performance, and we never get that time back. So if this is an area that's resonating with you, as with any of the areas that we cover, please don't hesitate to get in touch if you think I can help. As usual, I'm going to jump into some actionable takeaways that I hope you can seize on and begin implementing immediately to ensure that you feel more prepared for everything that's coming at you, both in your professional role and indeed in your personal life. So the first tip to share is planning time. You can't be prepared if you haven't got the time to prepare. So look at that diary, look at your calendar, and make sure there are some blocks of time carved out on a consistent basis that you know that's when I get a bit of time to reflect. Equally, irrespective of how big your commitments are on the weekend, family, friends, social, etc., I think it's healthy, whether it's a Sunday evening, a Friday evening at the end of a week, just to take half an hour, reflect on the previous week, reflect on the week ahead, and just plan. Reflect on what you want to achieve by the end of that week, the forthcoming week. What does success look like? And allow your mind just to embrace that and come up with a little bit of preparatory work to reduce the stress and increase the likelihood of a successful week. Tip number 2, prepare contingencies. Mike Tyson's trainer, Cus D'Amato, had that famous line, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, as I say, whenever I mention that, I hope you're not going to get punched in the face, but the principle translates into all of our roles. You can be as prepared as you want, but very rarely will you be able to execute plan A for each and every task that you face. So spend a little time thinking about where the challenge may come from, what you may face, and what would be the contingency in that scenario. Now, I'm not asking you to go down endless rabbit holes coming up with 35 different plans for the same situation, but a little bit of common sense here just to say, this is what I think we should do. I'm pretty certain that if we meet a challenge, it'll be this challenge and this challenge. You might only need one or two, but just, well, if that surfaces, what would I do? What would my team do? Who will take a lead? A classic sporting scenario is one of your star players gets injured. You start a game, particularly in contact sports, and somebody sustains an injury to their shoulder, their knee, whatever it may be, that requires them to leave the game. What happens then? Of course, those scenarios are rehearsed. There's a contingency. If this player goes down, this player would move here, and this is how we would shuffle the personnel accordingly. You don't just suddenly go into panic mode and say, I never considered this could ever happen. So there is a due diligence here to recognize, well, here are the most likely threats, and this is what we would do should that actually materialize. The third tip, embrace and leverage data and intelligence. We have so much data now. Yes, there is a temptation that it can become overwhelming, but why not use the science and all these wonderful touch points that we now have? In sport, there's all sorts of wearable devices now that give the coaching staff immediate live feedback on how much work somebody's doing, the level of fatigue. There's safety measures out there now. If someone sustains a blow to the head, there's mechanisms within their mouth guards that can relay that back to the coaching team to say, player A has just sustained a serious blow to the head. It's sensible to take them off and assess them medically. So those elements in sport are very much about the health, the well-being of the individual, but also the performance of the individual and the wider team. So whatever that technological equivalent is for you, embrace it. If you are reflecting and you are preparing, yes, your gut feel is important. Of course it is. You've been fine-tuning that your whole life, but embrace some of the data, some of the touch points you can get with customers, with the stakeholder group, to ensure that you are as prepared as you can be. Because there are trends, there are themes that the data and the intelligence can help you spot, which ties back into my contingency point. If you see certain trends and themes developing, maybe there's a contingency plan that needs working up because there is a direction of travel that seems to be materializing that perhaps you didn't actually anticipate at the start. So embrace the data, use it, don't drown in it, but use it to make yourself more informed, use it to be more prepared. The next tip, coordinate, communicate, and communicate again. So in order for your entire organization to be in a state of preparedness, we need to ensure that you have communicated and all your senior leaders have communicated the vision, and that the coordination is there and the follow-up communication is there to ensure that everybody understands the part, the role they'll play. I'm using the sporting and military analogies a lot today, but within those dynamics, each team player knows their role. Do your team players know their role? Don't presume. Sense check it. Communicate with them. Ask them to relay it back to you. Ask people to convey the vision as they see it. Ask people to convey to you the role that they are playing in the realization of that vision. And never presume that everybody understands. That's human nature. Sometimes people need the repetition to truly embed the plan and to ensure they are fully prepared, particularly if they are less experienced, newer members of your team. Do not presume. Sense check regularly. Yes, your veterans can probably second guess what you're going to say before you even say it because they're so familiar with you, but particularly those inexperienced, new faces, make sure you're circling back, communicating again, and having them prove that they are truly prepared. No gaps. You can have a high-performing team, but if you have a series of gaps in it, it's a bit like putting a boat into the water with holes in the hull. Water will come in, and eventually the boat's no use. So let's ensure there are no gaps with high quality and frequent communication. The next tip I would encourage you to consider is rehearse under pressure. Have you ever had to stand up and make a speech, perhaps at a wedding, perhaps a work-related speech, a presentation, where you felt incredibly nervous? I think we've all got those memories. The only way through those nerves, the only way through that embarrassment, because we've all had embarrassing consequences of those nerves where we've stumbled along and we've not quite delivered at a level that we wanted to, is repetition. And that repetition breeds a level of confidence that makes it a little bit easier. Ask anybody who speaks on a stage or to an audience regularly. It's really hard. It always induces nerves, but it gets steadily easier and the threshold grows. Speaking to a room of 10 is no longer a problem. Speaking to a stadium of 10,000, maybe that's a bit different, but our tolerance to that stress improves. So I'm on the theme of public speaking. I'll stay on that. If you have a big presentation to make, continually practicing that in your bedroom or in your home office on your own will serve you to a degree. But if you can start to present to people, even if it's just a friend, a partner, a parent, there's a sense of discomfort there that creates a bit of pressure that enhances your level of preparedness. Then if you could step into a room full of your colleagues and say in advance of my big presentation to the senior management, I want to present it to you. Again, you create a discomfort, you create a level of pressure that enhances your readiness, that enhances your state of preparedness. So look for the opportunities, both you as an individual leader and the team around you, to practice and prepare in pressurized situations. Even when they're artificially created, it's important to try and replicate it because the enhanced performance that happens as a consequence is well documented in so many different sectors. So look for that ability to replicate the pressure. And the next tip you can have a little bit of fun with: maintaining readiness. Now, we've all experienced fire drills in our school days, in our professional environments, in our offices, etc. Sometimes we're given notification, but often you're not. The alarm goes off and the senior leadership in the organisation or the school can sense check how prepared are we. And it highlights the problem areas. If one facet of the business evacuates the building in a smooth and streamlined manner and another doesn't, well, it's pretty obvious where the reflection and the follow-up is going to take place. So think about how you can spot check, you can challenge people without giving them a notification, without them having time to prepare, just to sense check a scenario. Make sure they do understand what is expected. And last but not least is a tip that pops up in so many of the takeaways I build into a podcast. It's a theme, it's a life theme, it's essential for high performance, I believe, and it is the desire to commit to continuous learning. None of us are the finished article. How can we be? Unless we've got narcissistic traits, we'll all recognize that we have so much still to learn, so much still to explore, and so much potential in every facet of our lives in terms of how we operate and perform in our professional roles and personal lives. So in order to be truly prepared, we have to have that desire to reflect, to learn, to seek out perspectives and insights from as wide a cross-section of our stakeholder group as possible, to find the mentors and the coaches that can help guide us with the lessons they learned, walking the path that we now walk, and to then reflect and take all of that knowledge and deliver it into our own strategies, our own leadership style, and then periodically, as we're moving through challenges and quarters and years and chapters of our life, to keep going back, challenging ourselves. Where am I? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? Who can help me? Where are my skills gaps? Where are my knowledge gaps? Who and how do I need to engage to close them? Those questions never stop. So it is the last point of today's podcast and arguably the most important. Never close your mind to the opportunity to learn. Embrace it in every facet of what you do, and that will allow you to move closer and closer to truly optimizing your performance. And I guarantee it's not a bombastic statement, but in my experiences coaching and mentoring people, you have a whole new level of performance still inside you, yet to be realized. And with the right focus on your own learning, on your own growth and development, you will realize that potential. You will surprise even yourself. But if you don't step into that space, if you don't challenge yourself to keep learning, then you may never access that enhanced level of performance. And you will retire and move on and probably look back with a little bit of regret, wondering, I wonder how good I could have been. None of us want that sort of regret. We want to know we've burst through every door, we've had every conversation we can, we've challenged ourselves in every way we could imagine possible to truly optimize our performance. And I just want to finish with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, one of the most inspirational leaders that I've ever had the pleasure of researching and reading around. He's somebody that pops up in so many of our podcasts. And I think it captures the notion that being prepared isn't necessarily the most glamorous of leadership traits. But I love this notion that it's a form of scaffolding. It holds performance together. It gives us comfort and security, just as scaffolding does when you're working up a building. It gives the workmen and ladies on that scaffolding comfort that they are in a safe space, that they are ready, that they are prepared. And the quote that Abraham Lincoln uses that I think really talks to being prepared is, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So I hope the tips and the insights today will help you sharpen your axe and raise your level of performance. I wish you the very best of luck. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.